Well, hey, hi, hello, and how are ya? Secondhand Dan coming to you from the Penny Pincher thrift shop land. I had a great opportunity just like 2 days ago to do a nice video, but I spaced it out. We changed a water pump on a Ford F-150 2015 3.5. And it went relatively smooth. It's been a while since I turned some wrenches on the actual engine of anything, but my cousin and I and Roy, we did it in about 2.5 hours, so I'm pleased with the results. But on a side note, I thought, well, I missed the video of taking apart and reinstalling a water pump, but how about I do a smaller video on why the water pump failed. All right, we worked under the canopy here. It was a Sunday, 2 days ago. Today's August the 25th, about 70 degrees out here. But here's the brand pump that we actually installed. So if you have a comment as to what do you think of the quality, I'm from back in the days, the 70s and the 80s, when brand names meant something. But now, even if you have what you think is a brand name, it might be just a brand name on a generic item. So it's hard to be sure what you're getting nowadays, because I bought brand name coils for my Lexus and they were a nightmare. Of course, I bought them online and I thought I got a good deal on them, but it was a nightmare. So that's another story. Anyway, Duralast water pump is what we put on there. All right, I get all excited. I start these videos and I'm like, where am I at on this thing? I turn around like, I'm only 2 minutes into it. Alrighty then. Duralast, hope it's gonna last. Here's the pump that was taken off. And it is marked FOMO-CO. Up there, it's a little hard to see. In this, there it is. In this particular lighting, it was making a rumbly noise. And he noticed his coolant was needing topped off every couple of days. And I wasn't looking too eager to do the job, because I was afraid, what if we open a can of worms here and his vehicle is stuck here on my property? We have to, I don't know. I did watch some YouTube videos on how to change it, so that was definitely an important thing to do. So it definitely gave me a heads up. But like I said, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. But anyway, this pump has a plastic impeller. That's the part that slings the water. It looks just like a fan. So you can see, back in my day, I sound like an old, like what, diggity jiggity, whatever, Homer Simpson's father. Back in my day, oh, diggity jiggity. Anyway, they were all metal. But the funny thing is, the one that we just put on had a metal impeller. But the FOMO-CO here, Ford Motor Company, has a plastic impeller. But the impeller didn't fail, so I can't criticize them over the impeller. I'm watching Rain Man Ray, and he's been having a difficult time trying to figure out the cooling situation on a particular vehicle. And I asked, you know, the serpentine belts, there's different patterns sometimes for different motors. Well, not even different motors. It could be the same motor, a 3.5, but if you have a different accessory, or it's in a different vehicle, I wondered if the direction of the pump could be changed and that you could have the improper impeller on there. And I did a little research, and it is possible. I don't know if that was what his issue was, but I threw that on the comments. I'm like, make sure you got a water pump that's of the proper direction, because otherwise you're just treading water instead of moving it. How do you like that visual graphic there? Moving the water versus treading it. So listen to this thing here. You can see that's not a good sound, and that was amplified while on the truck. So that was definitely our first clue. At first I thought it was his idler pulley, but then he explained he was losing some coolant. I said, oh, then it very well could be the water pump. Now that you mentioned the coolant loss, so this, what it was there's a weep hole. So if your water pump is weeping, if it's crying, that's a good indicator that it's time to change it. This weep hole's got a little bit of gunk on it right now. I don't know if we just moved the stuff around, but right there. And back in my day, the weep holes faced down. This weep hole was facing up, but I don't think it really matters. Anyway, you can see when I started back in my day stuff, I was going to say you used a gasket. You would put some Permatex on both sides of your gasket and stick it on your pump and then stick it to the block. But now they've gone to a rubber gasket which gets compressed, so there's no need to add anything else. So this aluminum plate here is sandwiched between the pump and the block. So there's a rubber gasket on both sides. It doesn't go all the way through, and it's even got some guide pins on it, alignment pins, to make sure you put it properly in the pump. And this is marked FOMO Co. also. So we know it went bad because that's not a good sound. That means the bushing, the bearing, the clearance has gotten big enough that water coolant is getting past the impeller and coming not out on the shaft side, because it comes out of the weep hole before it even gets to the end of the shaft. And that's just to prolong the inevitable, because if it traveled all the way up into your bushing, you'd probably be lucky if you had a couple hours before it exploded or seized up. So the weep hole lets the coolant run out before it severely damages and stops you in your tracks. So I'm going to see if I can't get this thing totally apart. Now I assume that this is a press fit. So we have to unpress it. That'd be unprecedented now. So I'm going to put it in. Check out my Monster vise here. This is an oldie. A Yost 104. I've got a collection of vices. I buy them at yard sales and I spruce them up and resell them. But this one, it ain't fancy, but it's a beast. You know, I thought maybe I was going to go with one that swiveled, but I had that option. I said, nah, I don't need the swivel. Anyway, let's see if I get some pry bars on there, if that's going to come off. This is actually my first attempt to ever disassemble a water pump. Back in somebody's day, I don't know if it was mine, you could buy, I think, rebuild kits, maybe back in the 40s, 50s. But I'm not having high hopes that this is going to come off easily, but got nothing to lose. Pop. Explosion. Yeah, let's bust a move here. Just for the sake of automotive research. Okay. Oop. See where we're at there? You know, like I said, I assumed it was pressed on. I don't think it's threaded. It's not that it's impossible to be threaded, but threading costs them more money, more tooling. But let's go ahead and see if it loosens up if I try to unthread it. No, I didn't think so. But just so I checked all avenues. I mean, I've got a press in the back room, but interesting. Lots of play in there. Well, the old prying didn't work, so let's try just driving it through. Get myself a decent drift punch. Okay, here we go. Got a nice little set here of drift punches. I'll go with the biggest one. It's allowed to get loud in here. Okay. Bippity boppity boo. I don't see anything happening. Maybe it moved a fraction there. No, I don't think it did. I mean, it can't be held on with a couple tons of pressure. So what do we do? What do we do? All right, well, I'm game. Let's go put it in my press, because I think I bought the thing 2 years ago and I don't think I've only pressed but one item with it. So let's go do that. I went back to the press and I noticed that I don't have the typical puller attachment that would go underneath here. I have the thick 3/4 inch plates that have notches in them, but they're not going to fit under there. And I don't see a bearing pulling plate in my inventory here. So this could be a exercise in futility. So I don't want to drag out the torches just to heat this up. They did a good job of building this, considering what I assume that this is pressed onto the shaft, this triangle bracket for the pulley. I noticed on the one video, the guy, when changing his water pump, I'm like, oh, you know, you got the wrong water pump, because I saw he took off what had 4 holes in it. And I saw him mounting the one with 3 holes, and he hadn't mentioned anything about the difference until late in the video when it came time. He said, and we put our new pulley on. Okay, and his new pulley had the 3 holes. So I thought maybe that was just an aftermarket, went down to the 3 holes to save money versus the 4 holes, but it just must have been a difference in years, even though the pump is the same, because I thought maybe my cousin bought the wrong pump. I said, well, because he didn't come with a pulley when he bought this, I'm thinking, well, they sold you this, shouldn't they sold you a pulley too? But it turned out that his was a 3 hole from the beginning, and the replacement was a 3 hole. So I have the same motor in my truck. It's the 3.5, but mine's a turbo. So I don't know if there's going to be any difference, but my water pump's fine. Thank God. Because I'm sure there's at least maybe another hour in that job if I had to change the water pump on that compared to his, which is a non-turbo. Well, I'm going to give it a couple more bashes, and if that doesn't work, we're going to consider this the end. Let me wipe the grease off my hand so I don't lose the grip on the hammer or the punch. You ever lose a tool and keep thinking, I'm going to find it, it'll turn up? Well, I've been looking for my thermostat, an electronic thermostat. You point and squeeze the trigger for like 3 years now, and it hasn't turned up. And I can still remember the last time we had it out, so I don't know where it is. Anyway, I wonder if I went with a straight punch with a dimple, with a pointed. I'm not seeing one in that size. This is as close as I get. Maybe if I stand on a crate here. Usually I have my two-step aluminum, but that, I think I need to bring that out in. We had that outside when we were working on the truck. Okay. Come on, baby. All right, one more crack. If it doesn't move, I'm done. Okay, it hasn't moved. This is an exercise in futility. Means I'm doing a job that has no purpose, no viable outcome for any good reason. So, like I said, we know why it went bad. The bearings wiped out. They probably have a set of bearings in the front and a set in the back. So the ones in the back they're the ones that make this wobble back and forth right now. The ones up front, not so much. That's why another reason I was just a hair skeptical when we first started on the job. I'm like, I don't feel that much play in it, but the play is on the back side. And plus, when we changed the pump, there was a heck of a lot difference as far as no more noise. I mean, the noise wasn't horrendous, but all right, well, I have to apologize for dragging you along with me to look at the insides of a water pump when I couldn't get to the inside of a water pump. Anyway, give me a like and a subscribe, all right? Peace out. Thanks for watching. Bye. And another thing, by the way, back in my day, the old water pump, there was a core charge. You had to take them back because somebody somewhere was rebuilding them. And that's kind of why I got in the mind of, well, let's take this apart. What if I was to get into rebuilding it? What's involved? But all right, goodbye again.